Drew, how you doing?
I was like, I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. It's a new year. I'm excited about it. Was your
Yeah.
holiday good?
Holiday was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A little bit of time off, a lot of family time. So it was,
Nice. Yeah, same here. It was really good. It was really good getting to see people I don't get to see, getting to see my wife more than I have while we've both been working a lot. That was actually really
right,
nice.
right.
I got a question
Yeah.
for you for this new year.
hmm
If I want to integrate Emarsis with Adobe, where do I start?
Adobe what? What
That's a
part
really
of
good question.
Adobe?
Your question is better than my question. Okay, we'll answer your question instead of mine then.
So Emarsys first, right, being the customer experience platform, marketing platform.
Hmm.
If you want to integrate it with Adobe, more than likely it's because you have a broader Adobe Suite that manages customer profiles.
Hmm.
So the challenge is going to be what level of granularity do you integrate? What do you have inside of Adobe? Do you have all your events feeding into this customer profile?
Yeah.
Do you not? But the first main piece is, for any integration with the broader Adobe Suite, if you do have those profiles, is getting the profiles out into contacts. That's
Yes.
what is going to unlock you to actually send something to somebody. The second one is around the events. So it's not the easiest thing to get the source events out of Adobe. We can dump them, into like a S3 bucket or something, like all the source events. But you probably don't need that. And if you do have the broader Adobe Suite, more than likely you'd have Adobe Launch that has some tag management and has some eventing already going back to Adobe. So the best course of action to unlock those events is probably just to pipe them as well to Emarsys. And that's a fairly simple integration to do, right, in Adobe Launch. So with those two pieces, you can basically unlock most of what you would need to really use Emarsys. So if you're thinking about Adobe and Emarsys integration, that's the way to think about it. Profiles to contacts and Adobe Launch to get the events out.
So if you
And
want,
then,
so if you want to integrate Adobe and Emarsis, the place to start is to ask, what are you integrating and why? Right? Do
mhm,
you want
yeah,
events? Do you want profiles? Do you want contacts?
yeah,
And what system is going to originate each? Right? Because when we talk about Adobe, it's so huge, and because Emarsis, it's a single unified product, but it does a lot of
right,
stuff. You have
right.
to have that kind of like scoping conversation before you even begin to answer the intentionally ridiculously broad question I started with. Right?
Well, I think that's true in technology, right? You have to have a scoping conversation. But if we're talking concretely here today, like that's interesting. I think what you just
Yeah.
said about there's a different question, maybe not a scoping, but it's like who is driving segmentation? Who is
Mm.
going to drive that? Uh, I wouldn't say it's necessarily easy to do one way or the other, but a Marxist will play best if it has the contacts in the events so it can drive segmentation. Uh, and likely, if you're considering a Marxist with Adobe, it's because you want to unlock a little bit more advanced capabilities and maybe you're getting in campaigns today. So you may want to look at not driving the segments in Adobe and truly piping over those events and contacts and then drive the segments out of Emarsis. And that would be kind of, you'd have flexibility in both those approaches, right? Like even if you do this full integration, you could still say, hey, for these channels and these campaigns, we want to still author the segments and execute them in Adobe. Whereas for this, we're going to use Emarsis. And that is very possible, right? Emarsis is nice because it
Huh.
has the full email sending capabilities, right? It includes its own email platform. It's got SMS capabilities and it's got push capabilities, right? Which are more challenging. Like you with Adobe, you might need some other third parties to do that, but Emarsis has some native sending infrastructure, which Adobe doesn't have.
That's interesting. So there are certain functions that obviously either could do, and it's a question of like
Yeah.
where your data lives and feature set and usability and all the stuff we always think about when we think about technology. But there's also certain things that I think we're arguing, maybe controversially, one or the other is just better for, right? Like out of the box.
Yeah, and I think that's natural with a suite versus a point solution like a Marsis. I think
Sure,
it's natural
absolutely.
you're going to get that. The question more is, how do we bring these together in harmony? And I think that's what we're talking about today is the harmonious relationship here between the two suites is that a Marsis functions off these contacts and events. And oh, hey, by the way, Adobe lets you bring the profiles out and we can send these events to two spots. We can keep our master record in Adobe's real-time CDP while unlocking our marketing team on the side. And I
It's
think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
It's natural, and in fact, it's ideal, right? To
yeah,
have the thing that's better at orchestrating orchestrate, and then have the thing that like where the profile lives master the profile. Makes sense to me.
yeah, and I think as a systems integrator, right? We're always kind of focusing on what's the best for this business or this customer type of ideal, and like it's just natural. Some businesses are going to either grow beyond a suite or not enjoy the suite for their particular use case, and something like a Marsis can really help unlock a lot of power, especially for somebody that wants to do some advanced marketing capabilities.